Imagine being told that your sibling is better off without you because you are manipulative. You're the problem. You need to go away. Because if you go away, your sister will be fine. For an adult, this is difficult to deal with. But how about if you're just 9 and your sibling is fine? At age 9, all you know is that you wake up each morning, you make sure that yourself and your siblings ready, both have breakfast, and you're ready to get out the door so you can get to school on time. At 9 years old, anything that goes wrong in your house is all your fault. If your sibling's not ready, it's because you've not done enough. If your sibling's not fed, it's because you haven't done anything. If there's any mess in your bedroom in which both of you share, it's because you've not looked after them enough to make sure that they don't make a mess. This is even more compounded by the fact that your mom has learning needs. The complication as well is that mom, because of her own needs, she struggles to be able to identify potential risk when it comes to other people, which then means that as a child, as you're growing up, because mom believes that these individuals are safe, you've got to believe that they're safe, right? You're only 9 years old and you're learning from the adults that brought you to this world. And as a result, mom has exposed you to some unthinkable adults who have been abusive and of course harm. When we say abuse, not just emotional, we're talking about physical, to the point where you're seen in the middle of the street with one of mom's partners hollering and screaming and shouting at you, to the point where people get really worried about your safety and they call professionals to alert them, people recording because of how worried they are. If we're worried about the safety of a young person, should we be recording it or should we be stepping in to protect? People have got different views on that. But here you are in a place where you're meant to be protected. You moved into this lovely house. Absolutely beautiful. It could have been one of those pictures from your Disney characters that you moved into and you're like, oh, this is beautiful. But then nighttime hits. You cry through the night because mom's not there. The consistent person that you want or have been used to is mom. Yes, she might not have been safe. Yes, your home may not be the cleanest and people that are around there may not have been the best. However, it was consistent. Now you're in a place with people you deem as strangers. All you feel is that you're being judged. You're being criticized for doing what your mom has always asked you to do. Look after your sibling. The question is, for someone that's always made sure that they're safe, because I'm upset and I want to pull my sibling with me to make sure that you don't make them upset, does that make me a bad person? If anything, I feel like I'm protecting them. My sibling knows no better because they feel that this is what they've always done. They always protected me. Why are you trying to get them to go away? For us, she's caring and protecting. For us, do we feel maybe the best thing to do is to jump straight in and go, ooh, ooh, ooh. You don't do that. Or do we take our time to educate on why you don't do that? The idea of wanting to keep one versus the other, in a sense, I'll keep the 5-year-old because they're compliant and they haven't been able to express themselves in a way that demonstrates they've experienced the level of trauma the 9-year-old has. The 9-year-old, obviously, for them, what they've had to deal with is not only about mom's own struggle, but also having to be a parent at 9, losing your childhood, which then means that when your peers are lying and doing things that children do, you are there thinking, okay, I haven't quite done that, I need to do that. Quite done that, I need to do that. Oh, I need to make sure that mom doesn't get into trouble, so I need to do that. Oh, I need to remind mom of that. Your brain is constantly ticking when it comes to responsibilities that are meant for adults rather than for a child. Then it comes to the duty to protect. We all have a duty to protect. It's important that wherever we are, where people see something, you've got to say something. But at the same time, there's such a thing as saying, wanting to protect, but being realistic. Because when we are not realistic, what then happens is we create a divide of this nature. The textbook tells us when a child's gone through trauma, we need to be able to demonstrate empathy. We need to be present. We need to try all we can to ensure that we try and understand the child's journey. But then when that doesn't work, what happens then? By that not working, I mean if it doesn't work within the time scale that you've got. Time scale is something that people never really truly talk about, because when we're talking and trying to show people what it is that we do, the challenges sometimes for everybody is different. And in a case like this, when it's not even 3 months down the line and you're saying they're better off apart, and if they are to stay apart, I'll keep the younger one, what message does that send to the older child who's only 9? You're the problem. You need to go away. Because if you go away, your sister will be fine. Let's forget about the fact that you've been the carer for God knows how long you've been going on for. But for right now, you need to go away. What message does that send to the younger child? Because they're not able to say anything at this point in time. Does that mean they're not experiencing anything? And does that mean there is nothing to come? A lot of us are walking around with experiences from our childhood. Some of them as young as 5, 6, whatever age it is. It's about those critical moments in our life. Maybe when your parents got married, or maybe when your parents separated, maybe where there was a fight in your family and that fight in your family resulted in a certain thing happening. Maybe there was a passing of someone which then triggered a change in the way certain people responded. Maybe it was this situation which then meant you couldn't live with your family anymore. Key periods of our lives trigger certain changes within us, and those changes are embedded in us. Sometimes we touch those, and other times we don't. They lay dormant until certain periods in our life, and then they come up. And when they do, what would we then say? We can't deal with you. You need to go now. The desire to want to care for someone else is commendable, because it means that you're able to recognize a need somewhere, and you feel within you that you're going to be able to meet that need. But when that desire is not fully thought through, and you end up in a situation like this where you're having to get the person to go, then a question becomes about who was that really for? Was it more about your ego? And sometimes I feel we need to check that. We need to check why we're doing that. It doesn't mean that the intention is wrong, because sometimes we get swept by our emotions, isn't it? And when you see something and instantly you're triggered by it and you're like, I need to do something. And it's about being realistic with ourselves. What happens if things don't go the way we think it would go? Would we still be as committed? What happens if this person comes into my household and it changes the way in which that structure functions, because it will. If you got a child that is maybe slightly older, that has gone through all of those early stages without having to demonstrate or display these level of challenges that children that have got through some traumatic experiences are likely to demonstrate, then you've got a major challenge, because then the likelihood of competition becomes even more apparent. Because your child, whilst they've been stable, they're now seeing things that they've never had to deal with before. They're seeing you in a whole new light, having to tolerate certain things that you would not have tolerated from them, that needs to defend their mum against this completely new person kind of comes in. Now you have to balance between wanting to be that carer that protects this person and wanting to be this parent that ensures that your child remains stable. The competing needs then creates a whole new dynamic where, to a certain point, you begin to question your decision. And in questioning that decision, there is a potential trauma being drawn here. Because what we've often saying is that we don't always easily wash our hands off our kids. But when it comes to kids that are not ours, we seem to want to do that very easily. Like in this case, I'll keep the younger one but not the older one. What does that mean? Now, this is not to say that the behaviors that are being displayed are not difficult and emotionally challenging if you're not equipped for it. If the textbook that you've read doesn't quite mirror the reality, it unfortunately, this is where we need to really kind of put ourselves in positions, especially when we're trying to take up this sort of care and responsibilities, in positions that will challenge us to make us really rethink this. Maybe go through the seminars where people talk about their true experiences, not just the fluffed up one where you see on social media of, oh yeah, everything's so great since he came into all of those bits that are covered up just to get people to see that we are coping just fine. And sometimes we're equipped for it and other times we're not. But the implications when it comes to taking on caring roles for children that have been through the level of trauma and experiences that our young people that are in care have gone through, it's not one that needs to be taken lightly. Because when we get it wrong and you have to let go, you're just becoming another person. You've promised, failed to deliver. That's all that person sees. But you can't blame them, can you? Because in actual fact, that's what's happened. My plea is that we really do our homework. My plea is that we don't let our emotions cloud our desire to be objective. My plea is that we don't let our desire to want to be the stand-up person when it comes to a cry out for workers to come out there and care for someone. Some people just haven't got the level of empathy that some people need. And maybe it's not a case of taking somebody on full time. It could be a case of just being able to engage them in activities for a short period of time. Maybe that's all you've got in you. And there's no shame in that, because that contribution goes a long way to creating this positive future for this young person. While somebody else that's more likely to provide this long-term home becomes present. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you like what we're all about, just like, subscribe, and join our community. It has been King. Peace.